So I do not know what's going on in the ATP. I just don't have the bandwidth. So, wish them luck.
Hello everybody, welcome back to The Body Serve. I'm Jonathan.
I'm James.
This episode serves as our WTA year-end wrap, and it also dovetails with the launch of our new GoFundMe campaign for 2026, which will be the 12th season of The Body Serve.
That is insane. Now that the seasons are over, now I'm wishing that they were a little bit longer, because now we've got to catch up and wrap both the WTA and ATP, and it's just happening so fast.
Oh, we just got to buckle down, James.
Yeah, the GoFundMe is posted now. You know, this is a hard year for people. We are very aware of that, and please only donate if you want to, and you can, as always.
It's been a hard year for us too.
You know, we have a lot of privileges, and yeah, it has been a challenging year,
yeah.
But we've been able to do such amazing things with the funds that you so generously shared with us last year. You know, we went to the All England Club for the first time. We went back to the US Open for what I believe is the fourth year in a row. Mm-hmm. At least one or both of us was in New York. And we're so grateful to be able to do what we do and continue to do it independently.
Yeah, and we would love to continue to do it into 2026. The reality is that we rely on these donations to fund the show, like being on the road.
Yeah, things have gotten more expensive for everyone, I know, but travel is expensive. We had to relocate in Toronto.
Yeah, after living somewhere for 8 years, re-entering the Toronto rental market.
Yeah, you know, rent control is an amazing thing as long as it lasts.
You also lost your job this year.
Oh, that.
You were jobless for a spell.
I got another one, but yeah, that is true. Involuntarily lost my job.
Fun times.
So look out for that. It of course will be linked on our link tree, which is linktree.com/thebodyserve. We'll post it on our socials. This, I think, will be the first time we will not be promoting it on Twitter, because we've kind of fully left the platform.
Wasn't that the case last year as well?
I think we were phasing it out.
Oh.
I can't quite remember, but we won't be using Twitter.
So share the link to your friends and stuff. You know, people who may be interested or willing.
And yeah, there will be more details over the next few episodes. And of course, we don't ever really stop producing, even in the off season. We'll be talking about postcards and stuff. We're not allowed to put that in the description for GoFundMe, but more on that.
You took a Kodak disposable camera to Wimbledon this year.
Yeah, that was a good idea. I bought 3 single-use cameras. They're very expensive now, by the way, and they're quite expensive to get developed compared to what it used to be. But some of the pictures came out beautifully. I really want to start using film. I'm not like a real photographer, but I just love the look of it. And yeah, one of them will be our postcard image. Maybe we'll do more than one.
We'll probably use that stuff too for the bookmarks.
Yes. All right, so let's get into the 2025 WTA season. Thank you all for your contributions on your memorable moments and funniest moments, which we'll get to later in the episode.
So much happened in 2025. A lot of stuff I forgot. A lot of stuff I remembered but didn't really remember it happened this year. Mm-hmm. Some strange storylines and developments. For example, Iga Swiatek was a few points and one more match away from potentially winning the 3 toughest tournaments for her historically. Mm-hmm. The Australian Open, Wimbledon, which she did, and Cincinnati.
Yes.
She would have been a career Grand Slam owner after 2025 had things been a little bit different in Australia.
She did hold a match point against eventual champ Madison Keys in the semifinals. Her Wimbledon win was a real shock after winning no tournaments on clay.
And so a year that was shaping up to be a disappointment, still a year that some folks don't view as being that great.
But still among the top players of the year.
Still ranked number 2 at the end of the year, and still managed to achieve new things, new great things in her career, even if it doesn't measure up to the heights that she's reached in the past.
Of course, we saw 4 different winners in the slams. In doubles, we saw 4 different teams win the slams.
We had to wait till the very end of the slam season for Aryna Sabalenka to cop that slam title.
Yes.
She was very close to going slamless and being a slamless number 1 this year. A year filled with frustrations.
Last year, she won Australia and US Open, bookending her year. This year, she reached 9 finals, but there were a number of losses in those finals. She ended the year with 4 titles, but the title leader on the WTA is none other than Sara Errani, who is about our age.
See, I always find this fraudulent.
Okay, well, I mean, I listed it.
None of them is a singles title.
No.
They're all doubles and mixed. And so, really, the title leader on the WTA Tour is Aryna Sabalenka with 4.
Yes.
It's not like years past in recent years, specifically, where somebody was the clear top titleist. There was a lot of parity, even more parity than normal, I would say, on the WTA Tour this year.
It's interesting. It's kind of a continuation of last year because we're seeing some parity, but we're also seeing a clear group at the top of the sport who's trading slams and big titles. There were some surprises in the 1000s, definitely, but there's still a cohort who've really asserted themselves as the dominant players of the past 3 or 4 years. And those are people like Iga, Rybakina, Sabalenka, and Goff.
Sure, but then you still have Madison Keys winning in Australia. You still have Amanda Anisimova making 2 slam finals. You have other players having really good results coming close to joining those 4 women.
Yeah, I think it's in a better place because now you look at a slam draw and it's not like, oh, anybody could win this. You know, it's not that wide open. You have favorites. You have people who've performed consistently over the last few years. But like you said, okay, we've seen the rise of Anisimova getting closer to a slam title. We've seen Andreeva win 2 1000s, which is really one of the biggest teen breakouts in over a decade.
Okay, but Barbora Krejcikova could still win any tournament she enters. There are all these women who may not be ranked in the top 10 or top 15 or have consistent results these days, but could still do it. I think that element still persists. You don't have a runaway top player.
Right.
Even though, for the second year running, Aryna Sabalenka is the year-end number 1. Start to finish, she was number 1 this year.
Yeah, and I think for the entire year, it really felt like she was number 1. I felt like she really embodied it, even though she lost in the French Open final, even though she lost in the Australian Open final. She's consistently getting very deep in every single major, which of course was not the case for a lot of her career. She's really grown into this number 1 and has now finished 2 years in a row as year-end number 1.
The Masters 1000's winners, Doha, Anisimova, Iga Swiatek had 3-peated at this tournament last year in 2024. Dubai, Andreeva beat Clara Tauson in that final. Indian Wells, here she comes again. Mira Andreeva, back-to-back 1000 titles, beating defending champion Swiatek. Now, at this point, it felt to me like Andreeva was a lock for the WTA final. Granted, it's not something that I actively thought about at the time, but I just took for granted that she had arrived. That this was going to be just a clear, steady upward trajectory from here on. And of course, that didn't really pan out. We saw a lot of frustration from her on the court for the rest of the season, and she ended up not qualifying for the WTA Finals. Came very close, within a handful of points, but missed out in Riyadh. Miami, Sabalenka. Madrid, Sabalenka. So we have 2 back-to-back 1000 winners in the span of 4. Rome, Paolini beat Coco Gauff. The big surprise of the year at the Masters 1000 level, and a true breakout hatching and snatching moment, if you've ever seen one, Victoria Mboko winning on home soil in Montreal. And not only that, she did it against a resurgent Naomi Osaka. So you have this added layer to this story. Cincinnati Iga Swiatek wins for the first time in her career, Beijing Anisimova, Wuhan Coco Gauff. 7 different women won Masters 1000 titles this year.
I won't go through all of the 500s here, but Pegula won 2. Belinda Bencic, who returned from maternity leave at the end of 2024, she wins 2 500 titles. We've got Iva Jovic, Tatiana Maria, just stunning everybody in Queens.
That was one of the results of the year. This is a 38-year-old woman. She became the oldest titleist since Serena Williams in Auckland in 2000, before the world went to shit. What a different time that was.
Right before. And just the names of the players she beat on that run is incredible.
Including Rybakina in the final.
Right.
That's not nothing.
Alexandrova won the 500 title in Linz. She had a great year, finally reaching the top 10. She's one of the ace leaders on tour as well. Vondrousova in Berlin, she is just made for the grass. And again, one of the comeback stories of the year.
Leylah Fernandez in DC.
An incredible year for Canadians, which we'll get to a little bit later. The major stories of this year. Throw out a few themes you've observed.
Well, we can start with how it ended, in how Rybakina reasserted herself as a dominant force on tour, dovetailing with the return of embattled Vukov as her coach after the investigation and subsequent suspension, which was lifted mid-year, or toward the back end of the year.
From a storytelling perspective, this is extremely rich. But it's complicated, it's dark, it's troubling. At the end of 2024, Rybakina had split with Stefano Vukov. She fired him temporarily after the investigation started. The WTA had just gotten a new CEO, which is another major story of this year, Portia Archer.
Don't overlook the whole Goran Ivanisevic part of it.
Yeah. Elena resurfaces in Australia. She announces on January 1st that she's back with Vukov, but Goran Ivanisevic was working as her main coach. Goran is there in person, but once that announcement came out on January 1st, it felt like that partnership was DOA, that the time was ticking.
Of course, at the WTA Finals, after Rybakina wins that, she refuses to take a photo with Portia Archer. That's the full circle closing moment of the season, in many ways, for her, for this story. It starts with the chaos in January with Vukov being announced as being back in the fold.
Yeah,
there was Sanguinetti as well.
Ivanisevic leaves. They hire Davide Sanguinetti, who they were fairly open was essentially a mouthpiece for Vukov while he was not allowed to attend tournaments.
A coaching mule.
Yes, a mule for Vukov advice. In August, like you said, in private arbitration, the suspension was overturned. Vukov is back. Rybakina's results, really, really improve. She stuns the entire field at the WTA Finals. And this is the first real test of the WTA's new safeguarding processes, right? They don't always work. The outcome isn't always what's best for the player. In this case, the player has been very clear that there's no abuse going on. She's involved, we think, romantically with this person, and she's going to continue to work with them for now.
When you say it's not always the best thing for the player, clarify that.
Well, the thing is, as many people have said, Elena Rybakina is an adult who should be charged with making her own decisions. In this case, she has made her own decision. Based on the evidence, the WTA felt like Vukov should not be allowed to coach on the WTA Tour.
Yeah, but what do you mean by not the best thing for the player? It can be interpreted in multiple ways. You're saying in that instance that Vukov being allowed back is not the best thing for the player, but it is what she wants.
This appears to be a toxic relationship.
But it is what she wants.
Based on what we can see. But it is what she wants.
Sabalenka being at the top of the game was one of the big stories of this year, because that meant that she was involved in most of the conversation.
Yeah, most of the major head-to-heads, a lot of the classic matches of the year. I think her being able to hold on to that top spot in the midst of losing really, really disappointing finals, right? Things that could potentially be emotionally crushing. She bounces back repeatedly.
I said on a previous episode recently that, and I completely forget which tournament it was that I was watching, but we were possibly in that moment getting a Sabalenka crash out. And I said that it's one of my favorite things to watch when she just discombobulates on court. Mm-hmm. And so I went back and watched a few matches, highlights of them in preparation for this episode. And I have to say my favorite match of the year was the French Open final. That was a crash out for the ages.
Oh, no.
The way Coco lived in her head in that match was stunning, truly. Because the narrative that came out of it afterward with the horrible behavior from Sabalenka on court and then in press, the disrespect toward Coco, was all predicated on, I am better than her. I should not be losing this match.
Right.
Who is this person to be beating me? When in fact it's happened twice in a slam final now, and both times in very similar ways. And both times, Coco being able to activate certain facets of playing tennis and strategies that Sabalenka cannot access. She does not have that range in that way. And we saw this year and at the US Open when Coco won, people don't give credit to the intangibles of her game as being legitimate, as being top tier, as being worthy of going toe-to-toe with somebody like Sabalenka, as being on equal footing. And so I loved seeing Coco being able to give that to us again.
There are some people who can use that attitude to their advantage, right? If you're Serena Williams, you legitimately think in your head, nobody in the world should beat me, period. I'm better than everybody. And for a long period, that was true. However, if you believe that and you're not thinking through these matches on court and you think, oh, this person is playing junky tennis, they don't deserve to beat me, well, you better beat them.
Nobody should beat me, but yet you lost most of your finals this year. You were 4-5 in finals.
So in some ways, I like that attitude. I think you should go on court and say, I'm the best. Nobody can beat me today. But you do have to use your brain throughout matches. And sometimes you have to humble yourself and play tennis you don't want to play.
And sometimes you have to humble yourself and acknowledge when you've just been beat.
Right.
And that part of you beating yourself was due to somebody else's actions on court.
Right. But what I do like about Arena is that she really can dust herself off and just move on to the next. She has a crash out, and then it's kind of over. And then she wins the US Open. You know, I admire that.
She boards the very next train and goes full speed ahead.
Right.
There's no looking back.
So I think it's a big deal that she's captured the year-end number one ranking again. Prior to that, Iga had it for 2 years. Prior to that, Ash Barty had it for 3 years. So there is like a lot of consistency at the top spot. Off court, the WTA launched a maternity leave program, which was funded by Saudi Arabia's Public Integrity Fund. Is that what it's called? No, Public Investment Fund.
Yes. Would you say integrity?
Ooh, that was a Freudian slip.
Public Integrity Fund.
PIF. Let's just call it PIF. It is genuinely good news for the sport, but there was certainly some conversation about where the money was coming from. But this is the first comprehensive maternity leave program available to self-employed athletes. Because remember, tennis players are not employees of the tour. They are independent contractors. And this program offers paid leave of up to 12 months, ranking protection, in addition to a lot of other benefits. This is genuinely great news. We also saw the PTPA file an antitrust lawsuit against the tennis institutions, which they referred to as a cartel in their filing, and that was the 4 slams, WTA, ATP, ITF, ITIA. Now, not all of those institutions have remained as defendants, but when this was made public in March, we discovered that the co-president of the PTPA, Novak Djokovic, was not listed as a plaintiff. And later he said that he doesn't fully agree with the direction of the lawsuit. Now, you can read this full lawsuit. It is publicly available. This tries to cover everything. This is kind of like throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. It's very interesting. There's been some movement, but It's very, very slow. It does seem that they have a judge that's kind of sympathetic to the antitrust cause. It was not dismissed out of hand.
Well, apparently the Australian Open is moving to settle.
Yeah.
Separate from this suit, to kind of take themselves out of this conversation.
Now, the PTPA and their reps say they don't want to tear down tennis, right? They're hoping to bring the institutions to the table, which so far the institutions have not been willing to sit down at the table with this group. A reminder that all of this is funded by Bill Ackman's millions. So there's, still a question mark out there about what Ackman is looking for. If it's simply for the good of the sport.
If it's simply for being able to play a doubles match with Jack Shue in Newport.
In Newport, the Gilded Age playground. Another big story this year was the number of breakout players, very young breakout players. Victoria Mboko, of course.
Keep it on brand, man.
Oh,
the hatchers and the snatchers.
Yes. Iva Jovic winning in Guadalajara. Maya Joint, the Australian, is now joining the top 32 seed club after winning 2 singles titles at Eastbourne and Rabat.
Can I stop you?
Mm-hmm.
Something I'd like to get from the listeners, and it's something I don't think that we are best equipped to compile this list. I really want to know the things that people associate us with, slogan-wise and like lingo-wise. So like for sure, hatching and snatching. But what are some of your favorite TBS-isms that you associate with us over the years?
Idiosyncrasies.
Exactly.
Perhaps. Okay.
What'd be really cool too is if you donate, share it with the lingoism.
Okay.
I'm trying here. I'm trying.
A little bit off topic.
Marketing is not my strong suit.
Right. Janice Chen is, I feel, underreported hatcher and snatcher this year, by us as well.
Yes.
But by tennis at large.
She snatched a lot when a lot of people weren't watching.
She is from Indonesia, which is not a country that births a lot of top tennis players. She's 23 years old, so not a teen breakout. But she, all in the same year, makes her debut on the WTA Tour level, qualifies for her first slam at Wimbledon, wins a match, reaches her first final in Sao Paulo, and then wins her first title in the fall in Chennai. And finally, Sarah Rakatomanga Rajaona from Madagascar wins the title in Sao Paulo, a real shock winner there.
Where were we at the start of the 2025 season? We mentioned that Sabalenka had finished last year number 1, winning 2 majors and 2 WTA 1000s. Swiatek wasn't far behind, winning 1 major and 4 WTA 1000s. Iga had held the number 1 ranking from the start of 2024 right up until October when Sabalenka took over. Last year, Coco won the WTA Finals and had a recent win over Iga, almost unheard of prior to this. And she continued that into 2025, winning both their matches. So
In straight sets.
Yeah. Somebody missing from the talk and conversation this year was Zheng Qinwen, hampered by injury for much of the year. She had a massive year last year, reaching the Australian Open final, winning the Olympic gold medal, and then being a runner-up at the WTA Finals, playing an epic final. If you were to think of somebody who was maybe going to take that next step to join that foursome that you talked about, it would have been her. She was the natural, logical pick. And she did reach number 4 in the world at one point this year for a career high ranking, but injury had other plans for her.
Had to have surgery, and it's shocking how quickly you disappear from the conversation in tennis. For somebody whose rise was so epic toward the end of 2024, I remember watching that final match versus Goff in my sister's room at home. We must have been home for Thanksgiving or something.
No, that was definitely not Thanksgiving.
No, sorry, it was October, right? Whatever. Let's go through kind of the highlights of the year. I like to go through all of our agendas from the full year to kind of remember what happened. So we won't recap in detail, but...
We're not? This looks like it's just...
It does, but you don't have to read everything. All right, so starting the year in January in Australia, right off the bat, we get titles from Towson, one of your breakout picks, Sabalenka, Madison, Coco Gauff, if you count United Cup, but Coco kicked off the year with a win over Iga Swiatek.
Madison had a phenomenal start to the year. And she was also up a set on Coco Gauff in the French Open quarterfinals. She was looking very good for winning the first 2 slams of the year. That's how good Madison was to start 2025.
Yeah. The story of Madison Keys winning the Australian Open has to be one of the feel-good stories of the 2020s. I mean, people were just celebrating all over the place. Her peers obviously have a lot of respect for her.
It's one of the feel-good stories of the duration of this podcast.
Yeah.
It's one of the very best stories we've ever covered.
I know, for us, definitely, but it just felt so widespread, this love and support for Madison. She's been such a great player for so many years.
She beat Swiatek, saving match point in that semifinal, and then Sabalenka in the final to win this long-promised first slam title that some feared was past her.
They don't make it easy, do they? Because this run is a classic. Lee, Ruse, Danielle Collins, Rybakina, Svitolina, Swiatek, Sabalenka. That's 4 top 10 players. That's the number 1 and number 2 players in the world. In that semifinal against Iga, you mentioned how close Iga was to reaching that final. She held a match point. She had 8 break chances in the 3rd set against Madison, and Keys still managed to pull that out. It's an incredible classic run to your first slam title at almost the age of 30.
Well, Madison has been around a long time.
She was a teen prodigy.
It feels like she should be 36.
Yeah. At Australia, Siniakova wins her 10th major, where she and Taylor Townsend beat Xie and Ostapenko in 2.5 hours.
The winter-spring joggers season
Spring, summer? When...
saw Belinda Bencic truly back, winning in Abu Dhabi. She made the 4th round in Australia as well. And it was a good year for
It was a very good year.
Belinda Bencic. As
quote
much
Frank Sinatra.
as it pains me to say. This is where we also got the first ignition, the first sparks of Amanda Anisimova really revving up those engines to come and do some serious shit in 2025.
Yep. It may surprise you that she joined the top 20 for the first time in her career. After beating Ostapenko to win Doha, we didn't know what was to come for the rest of the year.
Not from Miss Ostapenko either.
Oh dear. Wow. How the mighty have fallen. Andreeva, of course, doubles at Dubai and Indian Wells. I don't know if you call that a double, but they're back-to-back Masters 1000 titles, beating Aryna Sabalenka, Swiatek twice, Rybakina twice, Townsend twice. How do these matchups keep happening at back-to-back tournaments?
It was giving Hingis.
Yes, it was.
It was giving, I am this precocious child prodigy, and I am going to make your life miserable.
Yes, but there's Conchita Martinez, and she's on the winning side this time. Miami goes to Sabalenka, beating Jessie Pegula there. We saw the breakout of Alex Ayala, who I actually didn't mention earlier. But the Filipino teenager who studied at Nadal Academy had a massive breakout year.
Do you remember how down bad Iga was at this time?
Oh my god. She was literally posting on Instagram the reasons she lost. And I mean, I remember we did try to be reasonable. And I'm sure I was probably a little too dramatic about her results, but some of them were pretty surprising.
Well, we still had the promise of the French Open and the clay season.
Right, and when that didn't happen the way it usually does for her, then I was like, oh, what's next? But we'll get there.
We were very sad to not return to Charleston this year. We made the decision that it wasn't right for us.
Yeah, at that time.
Politically.
Traveling to the US.
Yeah.
I definitely intend to go back to Charleston. Absolutely love it there. Jessie Pegula won this year. It was her 2nd title of the year, having won in Austin, Texas as well. Already her 4th final of the year.
Jessie had a very consistent year.
Yes, and a lot of close calls, right? A lot of good matches against people like Sabalenka.
Talk about somebody who is also able to take the licks and keep on coming. Right. Just like Sabalenka, Jessie has had some really heartbreaking losses.
Yeah. Stuttgart, which in my opinion should be another Clay 1000 instead of Madrid, goes to Ostapenko. Sabalenka in the final there. She, at that point, had lost 3 of her first 5 finals of the year.
Well, She's about to add one more to that tally in a few weeks.
The big one. But before that, Sabalenka wins in Madrid, beating Goff in the final. Rome goes to the Italian Paolini, where she doubled in singles and doubles.
We can't get to the French Open yet, because in April we have to record for posterity that Boisson was accused of stinking to high heaven on a tennis court by Harriet Dart. It was one of the funniest and most dark-sided moments ever to occur on a tennis court.
It's so mean.
Because they're both on a changeover and Boisson walks past Dart. And she kind of turns her head to look at her and she immediately gets up and says to the chair, "Can you tell her to put on deodorant? She smells really bad."
Oh my god. It's so mean, but it's really funny. And you know what happened? A Boissonnaissance.
Right. And she gave us permission to laugh about it because she handled it so perfectly. Photoshopping a Dove deodorant bar onto a tennis ball.
Where's the endorsement? Where's the crossover?
Dove took some free promo and commented and engaged with her, but I haven't seen anything. Pay the woman something.
I know. But you know what? She said, bet. I'll reach the French Open semifinal. I'll beat Jessie and Mira. Where are you, Harriet?
I will take all you basic French women who struggled so hard to win even one match at Roland Garros, and I will win 5 of them.
She said, Amelie, what was so hard about this?
No titles on clay for Iga. One of the true surprises of 2025.
Yes.
And yet she still had a decent year.
I know. But you know what was a true surprise was...
It was just a different year for Iga.
Mm-hmm. The real surprise there was the semifinal. It was indoors, technically, right? It was covered. Sabalenka dished her out a bagel in the third set. A set in which Iga only won 6 points.
Mm-hmm. To add insult to injury.
And so after doing all that, when Arena loses to Coco, she's like, what the fuck? I wish Iga had been here. I would have beaten her. So that was her logic at the time, right?
Because according to her, she beat the best on clay.
Right.
And gave her a bagel. So what is this mess?
Why do I have to go to another match? I already did the most.
I was a stone's throw away from being 5-1 up in the first set. And here am I in a long, drawn-out, knockdown fight to the finish of the first set in a tiebreak? Mm-hmm. How did this happen? There was one point in particular that summed up the match, I felt, where Coco hit 3 short forehands in a row, barely landed over the net. Mm-hmm. And then Arena hits a drop shot off of the last one. Coco runs to net and blitzes a cross-court backhand winner, and there goes Arena flailing. Watch that match again, unless you are a real diehard Arena fan for whom that would be traumatic and triggering. It is such an interesting watch, that final.
The other story is that Mboko is starting to spark. Like you said, the ignition is starting.
We already had Anisimova sparking, and now Vicky is sparking.
At the Italian, she beats Zucchini, then she beats Cucumber.
Oh my god.
No, but the story there was that she took Coco Gauff to 3 sets. In the French Open, she reaches the 3rd round, and then it's all bets are off.
What is this Zucchini Cucumber joke?
No, the player's name is Zucchini. She's Italian.
Oh.
I'm not joking.
So you just added on cucumber.
Yeah, it was a terrible joke. Okay. But
it's just wondering if it was me or...
Right, if you missed something. So going on to grass, we go to Germany, the UK. Vondrousova wins Berlin, beating the number 1 Sabalenka in the semifinals. Tatiana Maria sliced the girlies to death at Queen's Club, the first women's Queen's Club since the 1970s, I believe.
She gets to say she's the first woman to win Queens in 50 years.
Yeah. And there she beat Muchova, Rybakina, Madison, and Anisimova. Zhang Qinwen made the semis there, and she had a lot of solid results in the winter and spring, but unfortunately had to get surgery.
We went to Wimbledon. We were there.
Wow, we did. That was this year.
We saw Carlos fighting for his life against now Dancing with the Star.
Oh my god.
Participant,
yes.
Retiree Fabio Fonini.
He is a showman. It does not surprise me that he's good at, or is it called Strictly? Anyway,
I haven't
Dancing with the
paid
Stars,
that close attention to it.
Italia.
But we were on Henman Hill for our first experience there, and it was that.
Yeah, Henman Hill. It really was that girl.
A lot of Wimbledon was that girl.
Yeah, and I mean, London was great. You know what I was thinking? How come the subway cars are short? Like, how come the ceiling is low?
What?
I guess that's probably how the tunnels were designed. But
They have many tunnels.
No, but did you notice in London
It's more cramped, yes.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of seats.
Maybe that's why it's called the tube?
I mean, they're all a tube, really, but
Well, but it's quite literally
it does
a
feel
tube.
like one of those hydraulic tubes that you send memos through.
Right, this feels like something you need to research on your own time, rather than thinking out loud
Well,
on
maybe
the podcast.
somebody will probably answer me. Anyway, London was
In which
amazing.
case, email it to jraj.
Absolutely not. Are you for real?
I'm just saying I don't need that email in my inbox.
Well, that's private.
The takeaway from the first few days of Wimbledon was it was a bloodbath. We were scheduled to watch Coco Gauff in the first round. We were so happy about it. The men man-spreaded all over that order of play. And so she was moved to court 1, which we did not have tickets for. Mm-hmm. And we were mad about it. And then we saw what happened was...
Yeah, honestly, it was fine.
It was for the best.
It was fine. Iga won Bad Homburg, beating Pegula in yet another final. And this kind of prophesied what was about to happen at Wimbledon.
Wimbledon champion 2025, Iga Swiatek.
I didn't
Bob's
see it
your
happening.
uncle.
I didn't predict it. I also didn't predict Belinda Bencic getting to the semifinals. But across the semis and final, Iga Swiatek lost 2 games. 2 total games.
She double bageled Amanda Anisimova in the final. I listened to that on the way to work. The match was damn near done before I got to work. Mm-hmm. It was uncomfortable to listen to, as I'm sure it was uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, Amanda was certainly more tired than I think we all realized. She had played 4 consecutive 3-setters. Iga got through her matches much more quickly.
Amanda even said, I didn't even really practice before the final. I was so tired.
Yeah. Red flag.
And you know what? In retrospect, that was probably a good thing. She was just tired. And she knew she was just tired, so she didn't let it bog her down for the rest of the year. Summertime.
Venus Williams is not an inactive tennis player. Wikipedia.
Who saw this coming? And also, why didn't we see this coming? Venus Williams makes her return to tour at the age of 45 years old. Right? 1980.
Yeah, 1980.
45 years young. In Washington, D.C. Beats Peyton Stearns in straight sets. Wild scenes. It was just...
There was a false alarm, remember? Was it Indian Wells that announced they were giving her a wild card?
Yes.
And she was like, I didn't ask for one, thank you. I will not be there. I'm on my corporate speaking tour.
She ended up playing the U.S. Open.
We were so lucky to be able to go to the night session and watch Venus play Muchova, which was an enthralling match.
Yeah, she took a set from Muchova at the U.S. Open and didn't fade away. She lost the third set fairly decisively by score, but she was still competitive.
Yeah.
A true Venus achievement. Typical Venus stuff here, still.
Right. I have always said, since we started this, Venus Williams is the most surprising player in tennis. She will always surprise me.
She's taken a wild card to play in Auckland. So she's intending to play the Australian Open in 2026.
It's so funny because... do you remember Serena hated Auckland because of the wind?
Mm-hmm. Who did she play? Brangle? That one year when it was super windy?
Oh my god.
Is that who it
Brangle, and then she won the Australian Open that year, right? But I remember she beat Jessie Pegula for the Auckland title when Jessie was really just a little up-and-comer.
Yeah, her last WTA title.
Yeah. This is a Canadian summer. Leylah Fernandez wins in DC, Mboko in Montreal. That birthed the iconic Thanks, I Guess, by Naomi Osaka. Dabrowski wins the US Open. Just to remind you, that was Naomi Osaka's speech after losing in Montreal. She was not happy. I don't blame her. Thanks, I Guess was hilarious.
This is just the women. The men were up to some stuff too in the summer parts of the season. Canada had a very good summer.
Iga wins Cincinnati for the first time, beating Paolini in the final. She notched a win against Rybakina at that tournament. The U.S. Open, remember the mixed doubles experiment? This covers women's tennis. It turned out to be, as predicted, successful. It was an interesting experiment. It's certainly a different type of slam title.
We've learned that it will not be replicated in Australia, partly due to Tennis Australia needing players to support the lead-up events.
Yes.
Sara Irani and Vavasori won this US Open mixed doubles event, right?
So I think for the organizers, it probably did what it was supposed to do. It filled the seats. There were some really great moments from top players. We saw Iga and Casper reach the final. And although they weren't a natural doubles team together, it was entertaining. But the doubles purists are the ones who ended up winning.
Naomi Osaka followed up her run to the Montreal final with a run to the semis at the US Open, and she had one of her patented rollouts at the US Open. This of a much less serious nature than she had in the summer of 2020.
Yeah.
This one featured Labubus.
Those roses in her hair. She was wearing long braids. And she really is the only tennis player at the moment creating real fashion moments.
Her loss at the US Open can be chalked up to the fact that her planned rollout for that Labubu, had she won that match, would have been John McEnroe.
Oh well.
Indeed.
But she loses a classic to Anisimova. That match had everything.
Sabalenka ends up beating Amanda in the final 6-3, 7-6. Both players got something out of this final. Amanda able to cast aside the double bagel of the Wimbledon final, get right back on her feet, right back on that horse, and gallop. Arena, she gets to quote-unquote salvage her slam season by winning one. After losing the Australian Open final and the French Open final, she's able to solidify her position as world number one by winning this title.
In the fall, this feels very recent, but we saw Italy repeat as the BJK Cup champion, defeating USA 2-0. This is their 6th title overall.
You're just never going to change, right?
Two love? What?
2-love.
Well, it's 2-0,
but
it's matches.
2-love.
Whatever. Anyway, they beat the USA. Cocciaretto and Paolini get singles wins in that final. Paolini getting her first win ever over Pegula.
Italy is doing really well in these team competitions.
Yeah, I would say so.
Because the men just won Davis Cup.
Without Yannick Sinner.
I wonder if he will get all of his endorsements back.
Yeah, I don't think he suffered from that condemnation. The big titles in the fall go to Anisimova in Beijing. Loved seeing Linda Noskova reach a 1,000 level final. Coco Gauff winning Wuhan. Only her 2nd title of the year. Rybakina surges at the end of the season, winning Ningbo, getting the necessary number of points in Tokyo to qualify for the WTA Finals, and then goes undefeated.
This whole section on the agenda about statistics, we've kind of interspersed all of them into the episode already.
Yeah. Following Sabalenka with the most titles are 3 players at 3 titles for the year. That's Rybakina, Swiatek, and Pegula. Some of the head-to-heads I find interesting. Some of the really important ones this year were Anisimova versus Iga Swiatek. That was 2-1 in Amanda's favor. And this is actually their first 3 career meetings.
Sabalenka held a 2-1 record over Gauff in 2025. Their head-to-head is now locked at 6. Of course, the one win that Coco scored over Arena this year was at the French Open final. Sabalenka and Rybakina tied at 2-all. Their head-to-head overall is 8-6 in favor of Sabalenka. Sabalenka Anisimova. Going into this year, Amanda had a 5-2 record against Sabalenka. This year, Arena won 3 of the 4 matches, and now it's 6-5 in favor of Amanda. And we talked about earlier how Coco beat Iga in both of their matches this year. At the end of a WTA season, at the end of any tennis season, you have all these awards. It's award season. Awards doled out by the tours, awards created by podcasts, awards that mean nothing, Awards that mean something. Just people create categories all over the place. One of the enduring ones is Player of the Year. In baseball, it's MVP. In basketball, it's MVP. You know, who is the top dog of the year? And in women's tennis, it's really 6 players who could possibly make an argument for themselves. Sabalenka, Swiatek, Rybakina-Vukov, Anisimova, Keys.
All have had great seasons, but I do think you have to win a major to be in the conversation. Regardless of the strength of the field you beat at the WTA Finals, for example.
So right away you're eliminating Rybakina and Anisimova.
Yes.
And for me, it's pretty clear-cut.
It is.
It's Aryna Sabalenka. She was the best player consistently all year.
The thing is, in tennis, there's a ranking system that determines the number 1 player. You don't necessarily have that in baseball, right? In baseball, it might be a confluence of statistical categories. Or it may be the best player on the best team.
Right, but in tennis, you could have a player winning 1 slam and then 7 500s. Or a player who won 2 slams and nothing else. And then it becomes a discussion of, well, how much do you weight that second slam as opposed to the 7 500s?
Yeah.
In this case, this season, there isn't a whole lot to undercut Aryna's candidacy, in my opinion.
Yeah. Rankings are made by humans. They determine, which tournaments to award more points. But, this is why I find sporting awards a little bit superfluous, because I think winning is the award.
Doubles teams, you've got Townsend and Siniakova. Taylor also played with other players this year. Mm-hmm. The doubles team of the year tends to elevate slam winners more so than the best doubles players, in my opinion. I think you should just have the best doubles player.
Oh, by themselves.
And if it's a team if it's 2 people that played together all year round, then they share the award. Mm-hmm. Here we've got Townsend, Siniakova, Irani Paulini, Kudermetova, Mertens, Dabrowski, Rutleff, and Andreeva, Schneider.
So the first 4 teams, very, very close. All slam winners. For me, I would give it to Irani Paulini. They won a slam. They won Rome. They won BJK Cup. But I think there's a really good argument for every team except for Andreeva and Schneider. No shade to them.
And to be clear, these are the official categories from the WTA. Mm-hmm. You didn't just throw somebody in there willy-nilly.
No, I didn't pick them.
This is a copy-pasta.
They were nominated.
Okay. Most improved player. And this goes to a player who finished inside the top 100 and or showed significant improvement throughout the season. And the nominees are Clara Tauson,
Ekaterina Alexandrova,
Linda Noskova, Mira Andreeva, Amanda Anisimova.
Honestly, when I see this list, I'm just like, good for them. But give it to all of them.
Right?
Why would I pick one? They all did really good things. The category is so vague. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not invested in this. Congrats to all of you. Newcomer, Vicky Mboko, Boisson, Ayala, Maya Joint, Eva Jovic, and Eva Lis.
Love this group. This is a very, very strong group. But I've got to give it to Vicky, winning the biggest title of all of them.
I become less and less invested in these awards every year. I remember the early years of the podcast, we would spend a lot of time talking about this stuff. I feel like we even created our own categories at one point.
Probably, yeah. Which I think is more fun. And then finally, comeback player of the year. We've got Bencic, Vondrosova, Krejcikova, Kirstea, and Sevastova. Belinda Bencic, of course, returned from maternity leave, which one of our listeners corrected us once and said, don't call it a comeback. It's a return from maternity leave. That's different. There's a really, really strong argument for Belinda or Marketa, in my opinion. I'm not going up for Serrano, but she had a very good year.
I say give it to Anastasia. That's what I say.
Yeah, she's been through enough.
At the start of every season, we offer predictions. The only predictions that we do, in fact, where we pick a player from 3 different categories in the rankings and say, well, I think this player is going to have a breakout season. And at the end of every year, we get to go back, listen to it, because we forget almost always. I only remember that I picked Ashlyn Kruger. I don't think I remember picking anybody else. And we see how we do. We have one player from the number 1 to 50 ranking. Of course, you can't pick the number 1 player to break through or have a breakout
They've
season.
already broken.
Unless they win a calendar year Grand Slam or something like that.
Okay.
It's possible, I guess. And then somebody ranked between 51 and 100, and then somebody ranked above 100. Tell the listeners how you did.
Last year for the 0 to 50 category, I picked Rebecca Stramkova. This wasn't the best pick, honestly. She fell from number 43 to number 73, so didn't have a terrible year, but her best result of the year was a semifinal in Nottingham. The reason I picked her is because she had won a title in the fall, I think in Thailand.
You really had a terrible go of
I had
it.
a really bad year.
And the only reason you had one good pick is because you copied from me on the exam.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the only reason.
I don't cheat.
You picked Ashlyn Kruger like I did from the 51 to 100 range. She jumped from 65 to number 43, being the runner-up as well in Dubai.
For my outside the top 100, I picked Marina Stakusic for the second year in a row. Last year was a pretty good pick. This year, not so great. She fell, it was a marginal fall from 116 to 131, but it was a pretty forgettable year for her. She did win the Guanajuato ITF in Mexico in November, so maybe she's surging.
I picked Clara Towson, as I have in the past, at least twice before.
So tell me how that worked out.
That worked out really well.
It did.
It sure did. Finished the year number 12 after being 52 at the end of last year. She started the year by winning in Auckland. If you recall, that was when we thought Naomi was back. Mm-hmm. She made the final in Auckland. She was up a set on Clara. And then all of a sudden she has to retire. Towson wins that tournament, losing the only set played in the final.
Right.
Wasn't that the tournament that had to go fetch Naomi from off court too? Or something like that to come back for the...
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, maybe I'm misremembering.
To be clear, Naomi didn't really come back for real until she fired that man.
Yes, that part. Of course, I mentioned I picked Ashlyn Kruger. And then I picked, again, Sarah Bellick. She was 142 at the end of last year, and she finishes this year number 80. I thought the tennis was done. People are still losing points and gaining points. I don't understand. I saw somewhere where she's number 75, but last I could land on, she was number 80.
Aren't there like a few 125s and stuff?
Yeah. Okay. So, point being, she's jumped more than 60 spots in the rankings. I was picking her from when she was 16, 17 years old. She's now 19. And her rise this year included her first ever WTA quarterfinal, which she made in Prague.
I noticed you didn't mention that you
I don't know what you're talking
You picked
about.
Avanesian as well.
I do not know what you're talking about.
That was for the top 50.
We're only allowed to pick one, and I picked one. So, and it was Clara Towson.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have a lot to talk about on the men's side because of who I did not pick.
Okay.
We asked you to contribute your memorable moments of the season on IG and on Blue Sky. You really came through. Venus has come back in DC. That's thanks to Scholes with 4 Zs. In Canada, it's called Z, not Z. A number of you, of course, said Iga winning Wimbledon.
The Instagram message from Coco's dad when she won the Roland Garros title. That's from Tennis T.
Of course, because of our listenership, Coco's Slam and Madison's Slam were very, very popular responses. From Patrick Zweig, Monsieur Waldo, Luke Alex Davis said Coco's RG win plus, quote, that press conference from the loser. Which made me laugh.
We cannot record this episode without noting as well, one last time this year, how well the American women are doing in these slams. Dating back to the US Open final of 2024, it's 5 in a row where a US woman has competed for a slam title.
That's crazy.
Pegula, Keys, Goff, Anisimova. And what are the men doing?
They're doing their best, Jonathan. They're trying.
Yeah, but that's all I can hear about. All I can hear about is these American men. I've had it. I'm sick of it. A lot of people were fans of the breakthroughs.
Yep. This is from Lou Welch, the poet, on Blue Sky. Lois Boisson reaching the semis at RG. And Sone Cartal reaching the 4th round at Wimbledon. There was also Sierra at Wimbledon, a true shocker. Sierra reaching the round of 16 as a lucky loser.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it before, but Tony Giovannitti and Kate Armstrong also mention Vicky Mboko, another of the
Yes.
huge breakthroughs on the women's tour.
Tony, who was actually there in person to watch Vicky win that title in Montreal, and said it was the coolest atmosphere he's ever seen. L Queens on Blue Sky says mental health queens / advocates Maddie and Amanda showing resilience, persistence, and a full life regardless of what happens on the court. That was so real when Madison won, and she said she got to a point in her life where she felt she didn't need a slam, and that's when it happened.
Madison kind of just pops in and out on tour, I feel. She picks her spots, she gears up for big events, and outside of that, she's just living her life. I love that. Mm-hmm. That's how I would be as a tennis player.
And Amanda, who left the tour, did some courses in university, came back, and someone who can really like weather the losses. Double bagel at Wimbledon could have been humiliating, and it wasn't.
For some tennis players, being a tennis player is their entire identity. Mm-hmm. It's their entire life. And so when things fall apart, they fall apart. We see it. I don't need to name names in this instance. You can figure it out. And then there are other players who seem to have a stronger work-life balance. And as they've aged and progressed in the sport, as they've been through things off the court, they've been able to put tennis in a different perspective than other players are able to. I'm not saying one, well, I am saying one is better than the other, but I'm not saying that the people who can't are bad people. Mm-hmm. This just highlights a different way to go about things. And we've talked about this over the years, that we too have leaned into this perspective in our own lives and also in how we view tennis. It's not the end of the world. Nobody's going to beat Serena Williams' 23 slams. Nobody's doing it anytime soon.
And if they do, whatever.
That doesn't serve the purpose of this point that I'm trying to make. So why kill yourself? You're going to be making tons of money regardless if you're a very good tennis player. If you're in the top 20 consistently over a number of years, you're going to be stinking rich. Enjoy your life.
But the real champions are different from us.
Okay.
Even Barbara Krejcikova is built different.
It's like you're trying to have me drag players on this show.
No, I'm just saying they sacrifice a lot. They think differently.
Okay. I don't think that necessarily makes you a real champion. I think that that's very coded language.
Yeah,
and
I know.
It's a holdover from the Serena stranglehold on your mentality.
Well, that's not that long ago.
She'll be up for nomination in the Hall of Fame next year. It's quite a while.
No, I know you are not a fan of the champion discourse, right? Like the mythology around the champion as a concept, and I understand that. But we have seen these are human beings, but who possibly imperil their future quality of life to achieve things in the sport. And that, for most, is probably not the most healthy approach to the sport.
I think we should move on.
I actually don't think we disagree. Sapna Shah, Anisimova's fight, especially after Wimbledon, and relatedly, just how good the WTA matches between so many of the top players were this year versus the men. Agreed. CDH 111, Paolini winning Rome in both singles and doubles, which you don't see that much anymore.
Dustmill on Blue Sky said, 2 of my favorite things are Ons going to have a baby. She seems so happy now. And Dasha Kasatkina being accepted as an Aussie citizen. Oh, I have a third. Of course, it's Maddie in Australia. Love that this forces us to remember that this happened for Dasha this year. This was a pretty noteworthy thing that happened in tennis this year.
And asking us to focus on things that happened off court. That's Irish fave Dustmill. Thanks to Neil For Real for shouting out our Canadian champs. 2 titles from Leylah Fernandez. Those were in Osaka and Washington. But the biggest excitement, he says, Vicky. A period. Hanlon Walsh on Blue Sky, who we've actually cited him a number of times for double stats and stuff, says Anisimova's rise up the rankings and into American casual fan consciousness. That's true. The best WTA top 8 to 9 in nearly a decade, who distanced themselves from the pack, and Shestapenko putting on a doubles show, although they won 0 titles. And just something that I observed from all these responses is that you guys love seeing women coaches and you love seeing current and former WTA players supporting each other. There were a few responses about Tozia and others courtside during Vicky Mboko's run. Medi-nerd.com at Blue Sky said watching Kasatkina and Martinez support and mentor Andreeva, both on and off the court. And watching Mira Andreeva show up to support Martinez during her Wimbledon Legends match.
That was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
Let us not forget that. Now we're going to talk about some of the moments that you found to be really funny in women's tennis in 2025.
I think 4 or more of you responded with the Paolini Facechini racket picture, as Scholes referred to it. The very famous photo now of Paolini's face behind her racket that perfectly framed her eyes and mouth. Very bizarre, uncanny photo.
Scholes on Instagram says Iga, quote-unquote, not caring whether she faces Rybakina or Ostapenko at Roland Garros.
Yeah, she was able to keep up that ruse for about 4 seconds. A friend of ours from IRL, Dan, said Queen Danielle taunting the Australian Open crowd. Danielle was on one this winter. Is that where she smacked her bottom and taunted the crowd?
Danielle came back to tour this year because while she had planned to initially retire after last season, her family planning situation was not what she wanted.
Yeah, it didn't go as she hoped.
And so she decided to play another season. We still don't know if she's going to play in 2026, but it seemed like in 2025 she had even fewer fucks to give, for better or worse. And the discourse surrounding Danielle went in polar opposite directions as a result. People either really loved it, doubled down on the standing, or people were thrown off by it.
Yeah. I love Danielle, but I didn't love it. Like, I didn't love the direction it was going, but
I certainly didn't love the quip about luxury vacations.
Yeah.
When that vacation ended up being with Coco Vandeweghe.
She was even selling merch with Colleen helping. Joy Cub Warrior Princess says it's gotta be Dart's deodorant crash out and Boisson's subsequent rise. I agree.
We got the same response from John, who said deodorant, parentheses, also the meanest.
Right.
Funniest and the meanest. Tennis T said arena crash out, semicolon, all of them. Somehow I think this is the podcast for Tennis Tea.
All of them,
when it comes to that situation.
But I added one myself where this famous moment where Leylah Fernandez hits a deep winner and Arena looks at it, puts her hand to her face, and looks like she's just about to lose it. Like the world is coming to an end. And you know what? She pulled it together and moved on. Mm-hmm. Crash out averted.
I know I talk a lot of shit about Arena and the crash outs, but part of why I enjoy them is because I see myself in them as well.
It is so relatable.
I would be cussing up a storm on court.
Right.
Are you kidding me? Like you do this improbable, impossible thing to my detriment in a moment that's supposed to be mine. I would lose my shit.
Are you saying you would be crybaby Arena?
No, I don't think I'd go that. The crying part, no. The losing my mind, yes.
Okay.
The crybaby thing is not cute on anybody. And I know you feel the same way.
I do.
Because the moment I get a little bit whiny in this household, it's like you're about to evict me.
No, it's not. It's not crying. It's whiny. I don't like whiny.
Well, in tennis, the crybaby Arena aesthetic is whiny.
Oh my god.
It is so whiny.
Remember Liesl Huber? Do you remember her?
I remember her, but I don't remember the specific instance.
The incredible theatrics. One of the groups in the WTA Finals doubles draw was named after her. Anyway, Patrick Zweig says Raducanu saying throw the baby out. This is a favorite of mine. In Cincinnati, I believe, she's playing Sabalenka. She's saying something to the ump about this baby has been crying for like 10 minutes. The umpire says, it's a child. Do you want me to send a child out of the stadium? And Emma responds, well, yes. Isn't that what I asked for?
Neil J. Riley says Mboko helping Barbie K search for her lost dampener. We were there.
I feel like we were really on the ground reporting at this one. What the See, this is why I love watching Barbie. There's always something unexpected. Clearly she only brought one dampener, and they had to search the court on hands and knees to find this thing. Putintseva and Sakari had beef in Bad Homburg. This is from Daisy Map 1. I don't remember exactly what happened, but there was like a fake sarcastic bow by Putintseva. It was ugly.
Jay Carter, 1835 on Blue Sky says, quote, "You look like you need a mental break," which of course references Iga versus David Law tennis podcast.
This was pretty savage if you watch it in isolation. But what a moment. Wow. And TJC05 on Blue Sky offers actually just a photo of Jessie Pegula sipping from Arena's cocktail after losing to her in the Miami final.
Normally we have a segment of things that pissed you off and that really gets the listeners going, but you decided you wanted to keep this lighter and more jovial and not as mean-spirited this year.
You could have asked it. I just didn't.
You're allowed to have editorial control. You did that. However, I am going to offer one that pissed me off this year. It's Yelena Ostapenko. We cannot let this year-end show wrap go by without talking about this dark-sided event that happened at the US Open against Taylor Townsend.
And again, we're at the scene of the crime. As you all know, if you've been listening, it has really destroyed any interest we have in Yelena Ostapenko. Like, she has essentially disappeared from the show because of that.
People would always say, if you're going to a tennis tournament where there are women playing, seek out Yelena Ostapenko, because there's going to be some mess. And that's often been the case, and we've often participated in it, we've often kikied, we've often encouraged this kind of behavior, to a degree. Like, I've always kept her at a distance because I've always found it mean-spirited, to a degree. You know, as never a full participant.
Well, and there is a level of sarcasm in people who like her. I mean, it was funny. Like, the hypocrisy of criticizing someone for having no manners is hilarious coming from her.
But this one was a little bit more than that, based on where it happened and the context, and who she was playing.
Yeah.
And who was not going to stand for it in that moment. Because she picked the wrong one. She fucked around and she found out. And then, let's not forget, Taylor Townsend went to China.
Oh, dear.
She went to China.
And she took that goodwill and she just flushed it down the toilet.
She took the perceived racism that was given to her and dished a little bit out on her own accord. She just passed it along. Across, she trafficked racism.
Oh, my God. Oh, dear. I hope that doesn't become a
TBSism.
Yeah. Another moment that pissed me off, but now I'm sort of laughing about it. But in the moment, I forgot actually what tournament it was at. But Belinda Bencic decided to create a beef with Coco Gauff.
Yes.
In turns with the nastiest, most scornful glare you can imagine. It says, nobody's talking to you. And I will just say, Coco is a much nicer person than I, because that would have ended very differently.
You see, this is how watching tennis prepares you for real life. Because a similar incident happened to me at work, and I was prepared for it.
Well, you're not as nice as Coco Gauff, so... Excuse me? Nobody's talking to you? Oh.
This person was like, this is not about you. And like, put their hands out toward me. And I said,
no.
first of all, if you wanted this to not be about me, do not talk about things that involve me within earshot repeatedly. If you'd like to have a private conversation that does not include me, go behind closed doors. And secondly, do not ever speak to me like that again.
Exactly.
Period. End of story.
And as Lady Saw said, don't put your dirty hand in a me face. Poetry.
Chat to my back. A host of retirements and unretirements and maternity leaves and babies.
Very brief comebacks. I didn't even list Alizé Cornet here, but she came back very briefly and then she left again to do Traders France. We say goodbye this year to Simona Halep. Of course, a former number one, multiple major winner. She attempted a comeback in Transylvania, Romania, after her drugs ban was shortened. But she decided to retire after she discovered that she would need knee surgery to continue.
Petra Kvitova retired in Miami, correct? I feel like there were a few people who said they were retiring somewhere and then played somewhere else again. And bottom line, two-time Wimbledon champion Petra Kvitova retired in 2025. She is pregnant, had a baby.
She had a baby.
Had a baby.
She had returned from maternity leave. She had a short comeback, but she has retired from the game. Truly one of the greats of the 2010s generation. Caroline Garcia has retired.
Caroline Garcia was a favorite of mine throughout the run of this podcast. You think of a mercurial tennis player, she's right there. Stunningly talented, unable to really meet those expectations in her career, but a really good career nonetheless. Genie Bouchard retired this year. She's now embarking on a fairly successful pickleball career. Did you know this?
Well, I mean, I should hope so.
It's not a
If
given.
you were a top 5 tennis player.
No, it's not a given for tennis players to have success in pickleball, and she's doing really... I've been looking into this.
I can't believe we're talking about this seriously.
It's an actual professional sports circuit.
Okay, fair
of
enough.
Players who are ranked number 1 that you've never heard of before, who are miles ahead of everybody else on their tour, and Jeannie is making finals and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like, she's whatever. You're not here for it, that's fine.
Okay. Sarah Irani has retired from singles, but is still obviously doing the thing in doubles.
Just yesterday or the day before, Lauren Davis announced her retirement from, I was about to say Twitter, from tennis. And Janina Wickmeyer retired in 2025.
Comebacks. We had Petra Kvitova, of course, who has since retired. Her compatriot Karolina Pliskova returned in September after 1 year away from the tour.
Anastasia Sevastova.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm looking at a draw and there she is. I'm like, hold up, let me go do some reading here.
Christina McHale is back on tour. And of course, Belinda Bencic returned at the end of last year, but really had an incredibly successful return from mat leave.
Players currently on maternity leave. Ons Jabeur, she was absent from the second half of the tour. She had gone on hiatus, said she needed some time off. She's now expecting a baby in the spring. Dasha Saville, she is pregnant currently. It's so awkward to talk about this segment. I don't know why.
Right. It feels like somebody else's business.
Like you're but you're also trying to make a segment out of somebody else's business, but also do it in a way that's not repetitive. You know, make it sound interesting. Ons Jabeur is pregnant. Dasha Saville is pregnant. Caroline Wozniacki is pregnant for the third time. And she doesn't seem too keen on coming back.
No, it doesn't look like she'll return.
She said never say never, but it seems like she doesn't have intentions right now.
And a name you probably haven't heard in a while, Anna Karolina Schmidlova, is also on maternity leave.
You know, at least it's 2025 and we are the body serve, because hell, even like 10, 15 years ago, somebody would be out here describing Ons Jabeur as having fallen pregnant.
Fallen pregnant? Oh my god.
You know, finding different ways to
That's crazy.
describe it.
Oh
you
god,
know?
they used to say she's in trouble.
Dasha Saville is with child.
That wraps our 2025 WTA season.
I'm sure we missed a lot. It feels like we covered a lot, but I'm sure we missed a lot, probably in real time while it was happening, and then definitely in the recap.
This is our version of the WTA season.
It is also your version of the WTA season. We've relied a lot on your thoughts and recollections from this season to make this show happen. I hope you enjoyed it. This was a very good WTA season.
It was.
In a lot of ways, it was same, but different.
And I honestly see really big things happening in the coming year. And next up, we will be recapping the ATP season. Of course, the Davis Cup just finished with Italy winning. We will have some off-season content coming to you during December. And again, we've just launched our GoFundMe, which you can find on all our socials and Linktree.
Linktree.com/thebodyserve.
Thanks for listening.
Till next time.
Thank you very much.